Shalom, WJC family. It's time for our weekly Torah talk. This week in Shul we will be reading Parshat Noach, a famous story. The animals, 2 by 2, the ark, the flood. But what's the story really about? Right, the question is, what is it doing at the beginning of the Torah? What does it have to do with being a Jewish person or a human being, such that we should remember this event in the history, or depending on your point of view, maybe the mythology of humankind, that we're supposed to learn from this event? The whole flood narrative seems to have some sort of ancient nature. It exists in many cultures. It seems even within the book of Genesis itself, there's two versions of the story being told. Sometimes, the dates, the time don't totally agree. Sometimes the number of animals don't totally agree. But ultimately, this flood narrative is important. This idea of massive destruction and a covenant that will keep that from happening again, as symbolized by the rainbow. What I wanted to dig a little deeper into the narrative and try and draw out lessons for us from it. So I want to look at exactly what Noah does the moment he gets out of the ark. Or what's the first thing it says Noah does? The ark lands on Mount Ararat, and in chapter 8, verse 20, we're told Noah builds an ark and takes one of every kind of clean animal, land animal, and one of every kind of clean bird, and sacrifices that animal on the altar. One commentator, Chizkuni, compares Noah and his family to the sailors on the ship that Jonah gets thrown off from. That when they're saved from the terrible storm, they make sacrifices of thanks. And that Noah, too, after surviving the storm, is thankful. But doesn't it seem kind of ironic, after saving all of the animals, and it's true, he took 7 of each of the clean animals, only 2 of the other ones, so there were extra around to sacrifice. But doesn't it seem odd that the first thing Noah would do would be to sacrifice these animals? It is odd, and it bears explanation. The particular explanation I want to share is from the book The Beginning of Wisdom by Leon Kass. I think he has a beautiful take on this. So in answering the question, what are these narratives doing? The garden narrative as well, at the beginning of the Torah, Kass tells us that the God is trying to create a perfect world, a utopia. And the first try is with Adam. He tries using people who are perfectly innocent. And we know that goes awry very quickly. The innocence is quickly corrupted by evil, by the serpent. And so too here, Kass says, this Noah is another attempt to try to build the world. And so the first time he tried innocence. Now he tries the naturally righteous. Right? Noah is righteous. He hasn't come by his righteousness by earning it, by encountering that which is wrong and that which is evil. But he is to be, says Kass, the new Adam. Through him and through the vehicle of the ark, God tries to renew the first creation. He tries again for a peaceful and harmonious terrestrial order in keeping with the intelligible cosmological order of the whole. The ark, says Kass, is a microcosm of the projected new earthly order. Right? Imagine it, the chaos that would be every animal, male and female, but living in perfect coexistence. That is the goal, a perfection, an innocence, a righteousness that God is trying to create in the world. Ultimately, by the time Noah gets off the ark, food is scarce. They are once again predator and prey, and the first thing Noah does is make sacrifices because he thinks it's the right thing to do. He had just survived a flood, but it seems like it's not. That first act of violence, even as an attempt to connect with God, does not seem to fulfill the whole vision of the ark itself and the dissonance Cass seems to indicate shows the failure of try number 2. And according to the Torah, the utopian world that we are still working towards begins with Abraham and Sarah. Abraham, who is also described as righteous, but his righteousness is earned, right? Raised in Babylonia, in Ur Kasdim, by idol worshippers, Abraham has to overcome the temptation of the idols in order to create a way to connect to God that is based on earned righteousness. It's a beautiful idea, but it leaves me wondering, what do we think would be the basis of utopia? What are the values upon which we believe a world should be built in order for us to feel that sense of perfection, that sense of harmony, that sense of order? It does not seem to me that we are living in that world right now. Perhaps a little more righteousness would help. There is plenty of righteousness to be earned. We are challenged every day by negativity, by chaos, by violence. So what should we build our utopia on? Earned righteousness? Sure. Wisdom, values, universal values, Torah and Torah values, taking care, tikkun olam, taking care of each other, taking care of the world. What would you add to the pile? What is the recipe for utopia? According to Cass, in an interpretation I very much like, that's what Genesis is begging us to answer. That's what Genesis is saying God was trying to answer. How do we build the best world possible? We need to give it our love, peace, wisdom, understanding. I challenge you as we approach the reading of Noah on this Shabbat. Maybe it's a good time to think about how we'll fill in the blank, not only in our heads, but in our actions. If it's peace, let's commit to doing something to make peace, to build peace in our families or our communities. If it's violence, let's commit to doing something, or peace as the opposite of violence. Let's do what we can to commit to an action that will help reduce violence. If it's tikkun olam, if it's rebuilding of this beautiful world into a better world, perfecting the world according to God's plans and what people need, let's commit to an act that will, in honor of Parshat Noach, that will allow us to help contribute to that harmony and that peace. May we all do our part to build the utopia envisioned in Genesis, and through that may we live in a better world of our own creation and of God's vision. Shabbat Shalom.